Hey everybody, how y'all doing today? It's another beautiful day. Well, kind of rainy and kind of cold, but it's always beautiful here in Kernersville, North Carolina, the tech capital of the world. I'm Bobby Davis, the founder of Coder Foundry and Cortex. I'm joined with Kevin Dole here, my producer extraordinaire. Hey Kevin, say hello to the world.
Hey, how you doing? I wouldn't say it was beautiful out today. It's definitely, well, I guess if you like the rain, I kind of like the rain. So for me, it's okay, but there's like a little mini river going straight through my front yard.
It's very London-y. You know, it's very London.
It's very London-y. It is. I guess you get used to it. Or Seattle, if you're from Seattle. That works too. It's very much Seattle-y, so that's cool. Right. So yeah, we're back for another day. Sorry we missed yesterday. It's totally my fault. So I'll take responsibility for that.
Oh, it's all right, man. We deserved a day off.
We did, yeah. That's it. We just took a day off.
We took a day off.
We did.
It was actually, it was good. I actually coded some stuff, and I'm working on some stuff, so it's kind of cool.
Oh, well, there you go. So that's awesome then. So yeah, welcome everybody. We have, I'm gonna say hey to Adam first. Adam is our newly anointed chat moderator.
Yes.
Here on YouTube. So if you guys get out of hand like someone did the other day, unfortunately. And I apologize to you guys too. There's a couple of you guys who got sort of took some, I don't know, some crap from a guy the other day. So I apologize for that.
Yeah, we got.
I didn't see it in time. Yeah, I didn't see it in time, and it takes a minute to come through on the platform we're using. So, so I apologize for that. I should have got him quicker, but you can't always not have trolls. So, but it is what it is. So we have our usual guys and gals. We have Beth back again. Hey Beth. Glenn's here too. MSV's back. We got everybody here. Christy, John, Steen's back.
Hey, Steen.
Hey, Luke's here too.
Luke, hadn't seen Luke in a while. Where you been, Luke?
So, look, and he's hacked the planet.
He's hacked the planet,
which is what we're talking about today. So that's going to be interesting. David's here too. So cool. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So, Luke Sly Talker's here.
Oh yeah, my favorite name.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite names. So yeah, if you guys have questions when we go through what we're talking about today, again, stick them in chat. And we will make sure that we ask some of those questions too.
And I just want to say hello to Brian's mom. I know Brian's here, so hey, Brian's mom.
she might not be watching today.
Yeah, she might not be watching.
I don't know. She might not be watching. Zulu's watching though. So Arthur, Troy's here too. This is cool. Thank you for all for coming out. We super appreciate it.
Yeah. So Maverick wants to hack the NSA.
Okay. Yeah, let's not do that.
You can if you want.
Well, can you? I don't know. Can you?
I mean, it's up to him. I mean, if you like jail. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, Keatron today, he helps the government. So I think he's on the opposite side of that. So.
Yeah, he's on the good side of this, right?
Yeah, he's on the good side.
We're all good.
Yeah,
we're all good. Okay.
So notice today's the 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back.
I saw that, and actually, I saw Adam put it up here, and I'd seen a thing about this earlier today. Yeah, 40 years. So if you guys remember when this came out, guess what? You're old.
Like me. So.
And I remember this too. I don't remember going to the movies to see it. I don't think I did.
I did.
I may have done. You did?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I think I've seen Star Wars: The New Hope at least 35 times, and I saw it many times in theaters. It was just, that movie just kind of changed my love of cinema that I have now. So I just
that's awesome.
Yeah, but
you go to the movies a lot.
I do. And then my whole social thing now is man, when are theaters coming back?
Soon. But maybe they'll be a little bit different.
I'm there for Tenet when Christopher Nolan's new film comes out. I'm there day one, virus or not. I'm there. I'm sitting in that theater.
You might have to, but I'm guessing they're going to sell less tickets to those things. That's my guess. They're just going to have to cut down on the people that they allow. It just means you're going to have to fight harder to get a ticket probably for some movies.
I'm straight there, man. I'm there day one. So he's going to release it still in July. He's still saying he's going to do it. So
okay.
Christopher Nolan's my favorite director. So if anyone cared.
Awesome.
All right, cool. We've got a hot show today, man, don't we?
We do. We have a super hot show with an awesome guest.
Yeah.
Talk about some cool stuff.
So Keatron Evans is a guy that I've known a long time, and we've kept communication. He actually, I got my ethical hacking like certificate, which means I spent a week in a class, and then we met there. And he's just a really knowledgeable, good dude. But he's the managing partner at KM Security LLC, and he's responsible for global information security consulting business, which includes penetration testing, cyber threat hunting, digital forensics, and training. And he consults and trains for members of the intelligence community of the U.S. and other governments in offensive cyber operations, and works on several classified threat hunting operations.
So you're saying he's the dude that types on 2 keyboards on NCIS, right?
Exactly.
Which we're going to get to.
Right. All I'm saying is, Maverick, you're on the list now. So, but let's bring Keatron on the show. He's a good dude, and let's welcome him in.
Let's get him here.
Hey, Keatron, how you doing?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
All right. How is life in Chicago?
Well, yeah, it's cold and wet, and it's a good reason to stay inside. So,
right, exactly.
I was looking in the mirror this morning. I was like, man, I need to shave, and then I realized, wait a minute, we're in like lockdown, quarantine. So people expect you to look like crap. So which is a good thing. I don't have to worry about it.
You never thought like barbershops would be an essential business, and it should have been classified that way, but they did.
Oh my God, yeah.
So.
Yeah. Because I look like a different human being if I haven't been to my guy that lines me up and stuff like that.
It lines me up. Okay, I got you.
Good thing is I've tried to. Since we're in quarantine, I've tried to do it myself like 4 times. Totally screwed it up every time, but now it's grown back out. So I've learned that I can't do it. It's not something I should be trying to do.
Okay, so you can get like that Aaron Rodgers full Green Bay Packers beard. You can get that.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
So, all right. Cool. So we've got some things here. So just tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got started in this whole business.
Yeah. So we do. So our core business, what we started with was penetration testing, and that basically means we look for vulnerabilities in networks and systems and code. We do a lot of code level pen testing, static and dynamic, which means if we're doing a dynamic code analysis or dynamic test against your application or code, you don't give us a source code, right? Like we just take the functioning binary or functioning API and we try to break into it that way, or we'll do a static test, which basically is a code review. Like we take the code and we try to find vulnerabilities in it. So that's something that we do. That's a good connect for what you guys do, is we do quite a bit of that. What's picked up in the last, I guess, 2 or 3 years is a lot of web app stuff as companies migrate to cloud. So we've done this year, we've done about 10 pen tests against AWS and Azure environments. And I've got a bunch going on right now. We've been busier than we've ever been with web app pen tests since this pandemic started. And I think it's because a lot of people that had us on deck to come in and do on-site network and web app testing just said, let's just get the web app out of the way. Since we can't have them come in, they can definitely do the Azure or the AWS or the Google Cloud stuff.
Yeah, is that a common misconception when you move to Azure or AWS that you're secure?
It is a common misconception, and the thing about that is it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's a situation where when you migrate to cloud, you definitely get some security advantages that you just can't have when you have your own hosted environment. But there's also a lot of security vulnerabilities that you have no control over suddenly now. Your layer 2 and your layer 1 is not yours anymore.
Right.
Your data link layer, your switches and your cables, a physical layer, that's controlled by Amazon now. So you can't see physically if someone's got something tapped in there. And then you have to trust the whole of the AWS backend employees that nobody's back there, interested in your data type of thing. So it opens up a different type of threat that we haven't had to deal with before we migrated to cloud. But I still think by far, there's more security advantages that you have access to migrating to cloud than there is negative things going to. You just have to be conscious of the fact that it's still your data. You're still responsible. Even if Amazon gets hacked, you're still responsible, right? Like if Bobby's got my data and I put it in AWS, and then Bobby decides he's going to migrate to cloud and puts my data in AWS, then AWS gets hacked. I didn't have any say-so in you putting my data in AWS. So I'm still legally going to come after you. Now, you might legally go after AWS, but it's still my data. It's still your data. You're still the custodian and you're still responsible. And I think that's kind of one of the things that people forget. They think that when they move the cloud, suddenly it's Amazon's responsibility or Microsoft's responsibility.
Right. It's just not true. No.
Now, they are responsible for some things, like if you go to Azure, or even when, you know, if you use AWS EC2 or something, you don't have to worry about, for example, with Azure patching Windows, right? Like they do that for you. Like they make sure that if there's a patch, it's automatically kind of done in line, depending on the subscription you get and all that. But so those are some things that you do gain. Other things like compliance and stuff like that becomes a little bit easier on one level. Whereas I can stand up a AWS template, use CloudFormation or something like that to just guarantee that any server that stood up is automatically compliant with HIPAA, with SOX, with PCI, or whatever it needs. And that's something we struggle with doing in traditional environments. I mean, you got everybody with every different combination of whatever standing up out there. So I just think we should do a whole show on just cloud. Like, I think that's
we should. Yeah, I think
that's
so.
it. Maybe we'll do that.
Because that's a whole different thing. But, you know, we pen test a lot of cloud, and I've watched it change because initially when we would pen test cloud, the first pen test I did in cloud was AWS. And there used to be a whole like 10-page document that you'd have to fill out and you'd have to physically sign it. Then you'd have to send it back to them. They'd have to approve it. That'd take like 3 or 4 days for them to approve that pen test. And then, of course, you couldn't do it. You had to give it to the customer. Like if I were pen testing for Coder Foundry, you guys would have to fill out that document. But guess what? You don't know what half that stuff in there they're asking is. So you got to pull me in. I got to help you fill it out. You got to submit it back to them. And it's 3 or 4 days. Now it's literally one page. It's all online. You fill it out. It's not even a permission thing anymore. It's just like you're notifying them that you're going to be doing this. And it's just so they won't start trying to block traffic and stuff like that and start sending you notifications that you're under attack and all that type of stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I guess the common thing, I think the big news now when people talk about websites is specifically in like JavaScript in general, like we download all these dependencies without even knowing like what they are, who wrote them. We get everything from NuGet or some kind of package manager. Do you see a lot of that where like the guy wrote the code or the person wrote the code, but it was like a third-party library that caused them their pain?
That is the most common thing we find with because a lot of the code analysis that we do is internal. So we're not checking Microsoft code, right? Or we're not checking a Microsoft application. We're checking an application that Ford or GM or, you know, whoever wrote internally to help with their assembly line or something like that. So that's code that's not been exposed to the public. So a lot of the scrutiny that Microsoft and others have went through with, you know, hackers in the public checking their code for freeform kind of, they haven't went through that. So one of the things that we find most often, and it's hard to get a lot of developers to understand this, is the reason we do dynamic code analysis is specifically what you just described. Because if you give us your code and say, check my code to see if it's got any vulnerabilities, we may not find any. But then at runtime, you know, or compile time, when that code goes and links in some libraries from God knows where that you haven't even looked at, you know, you just know it does a certain function. That's where we find in the dynamic analysis, you know, when we're looking at the code in memory, looking at your app run in memory, we can buffer overflow this or we can do that to it, because not because anything you wrote, but because the library that you pulled in has that vulnerability in it. And you just can't see that looking at your raw code. So that's a very, very common thing. And that's kind of our justification for doing dynamic application testing.
And that's just on the pen testing route. So I'm sure you guys are looking at perimeter testing. You guys test like physical security too. Do you ever do things like, you know, like, and this brings up what we're going to show, but like I was watching Bad Robot and this girl was walking through a parking lot just throwing out USB drives, and some guy picks one up off of a parking lot and plugs it in.
Yeah, we do. So that's a pretty extensive part of our practice. Our primary focus in the pen testing world is what you call full scope black box. So it's like we're acting completely as an outside entity. You don't give us a lot of information, and that includes physical, it includes social engineering and all that. And we've actually, over the last couple of years, we've employed a few drones. We use drones a lot because we go on top of buildings with the drones, find doors up there that are unsecured. Then we have somebody climb the building and go in the door. And you'd be amazed at how often we get in just with that. And that was just, buying some drones and using them to kind of scope out the top. Because I don't want to send somebody up there if there's no point, right? If there's no door. But we can use those drones, get up there. We take pictures. I've got some video footage that I'm going to post at some point of me walking downtown Chicago with a hard hat and a one of those construction vests, because dude, like people just let you come into places.
Exactly.
Construction vest and that hard hat on.
That's and complete Ocean's 11, man. That's what you did.
Well, it was a bank we were pen testing, and after a couple of days of recon, we found out that they were doing a pretty considerable remodeling. So there was a lot of guys constantly coming in and out with hard hats and vests on. So we just went and got the exact vest, the exact hard hat, printed out a logo and slapped it on the hard hat to look like them, and just walked right in, asked them where the server room was. They took us right to it, It was, we made up some story about, we have to drop some more power in because that's on the order. And the general manager of the bank was like, let me call corporate. And I don't think he called corporate. I think he just went back there and pretended he did, because he came back out really fast.
Anyway.
You got it in.
So we do a lot of physical stuff as well. And I'm not the expert on physical. Like, I do a lot of it, but I've got two guys that I met when I was, working in the intelligence community, when I was an employee. A lot of times when I'd go to different countries on certain projects, we would have we'd always have physical security. We'd have people that are operators that that work for State Department or whatever, that would get us in and out of places. And you just become friends with some of these people.
Right.
And two of those guys work for me now doing the physical stuff. Like asking them to climb a 80-story building is nothing compared to some of the stuff they've done abroad, in the security. So
that's crazy.
A lot of insurance that you have to have, a lot of conversations with the insurance provider we've had to have, because literally sometimes we've been on an engagement and I'll have a guy getting ready to climb through a sewer or scale a barbed wire fence or something like that, or climb a building. And I'll literally have to call the insurance people and be like, hey, we got somebody getting ready to do this. Is that going to be covered? And they're like, wait a minute, what do you guys do again? Because this doesn't sound like the computer stuff that we started this policy off with. So I kind of like just grown and grown and grown over the years. But I keep them safe. I don't let them do things they're not comfortable with. And it requires a lot of pre-work, right? Because like we did an engagement in the Sears Tower in Chicago. Well, the company we were testing is not Sears, or they're not Willis or whoever owns the building, right? So we had to contact the actual owner of that building and the security and the operations people that run that building, which is a separate company. So we had to get all kinds of permission from them. And it took like 2 months to finally get the okay, because there's like, we're not comfortable with you climbing the building. Like, no, we're not comfortable with that at all. But we got some things worked out, and we kind of convinced them by saying, look, you're getting a free security assessment here, basically. Like, just because you're housing our client. And eventually we got it worked out to where we could do some things that we wanted to do.
Okay, cool.
So
So I remember we're going to watch some videos here, but I want to ask you one more question just to tell you what I learned most from our class several years ago.
Oh, the one that I taught you.
Yeah. One thing that I remembered, and I've never done it since, is I never logged on to a public Wi-Fi ever again.
Why? Tell me why. Like, I'm interested.
What I saw was like how, I think it was called ARP spoofing at the time.
Yep.
And like how like someone could sit in a Starbucks and just like they all of a sudden all your requests go through their computer, and then you could alter a web page. And then that person's viewing CNN.com, but it's not really CNN.com anymore. It's whatever Keatron wanted you to to give, and suddenly your disk drive pops open on your computer. So, so is that still a thing now? I'm still scared of it. I use my mobile hotspot. Is what I do.
Yeah, it is, and you should and that's exactly what you should be doing. It is still a thing, and I do that demo all the time, to where I show people like, look, it still works today. Eventually, as everybody switches to IPv6, it won't be ARP spoofing because ARP goes away, and now we're using, another protocol for that. But the world hasn't went to IPv6 yet. Starbucks definitely has not went to IPv6, nor has the hotels and the other places you'd be using public Wi-Fi.
Right.
So it's definitely still a thing. And I always tell people when you connect to public Wi-Fi, it's like a 50% chance that you're going to the places you think you're going, Yeah. And I use that demo to kind of drive that point home.
Right.
You never know what happens.
Beth has a question about this too. So no public Wi-Fi, even with a VPN. Does that protect you in any way?
It doesn't.
It's before that, right?
Yeah. The attack that I showed Bobby specifically that he's talking about, what happens is when you connect to the network, I'm already between you and the Wi-Fi router, right? So you have to click that little Starbucks, I agree to your policies thing before you open a VPN, right? And at that point, I'm already on your machine because you're not looking at really the Starbucks agreement. You're looking at my spoof version of it. And in that version will be my malicious code that gives me control of your browser, which gives me control of your machine. Now, I've already dropped my logic malware on your machine. So quite frankly, at that point, I'm praying that you open a VPN because now you're going to piggyback me right into your corporate network.
Exactly. And so you're on the corporate network at that point, it's kind of,
and there's the response to that.
Holy crap.
Yeah. And I do that as part of the demonstration too, because usually when most corporations, when you open a VPN, they do what's called split tunneling. So they lock you out of everything else. So you can't browse the internet. You can't interact with other devices on the Wi-Fi network that you're on. You can only go across that VPN. But I've already got my logic malware on the box. So I don't need communication with it for it to do what it knows how to do.
Okay, cool. Well, let's watch some movies here. Okay. We're gonna get into
Let's do one question first. There's a lot of questions here. I like this one. What kind of educational training is needed for this line of work?
Well, so actually, when Bobby shares my YouTube channel, the channel is pretty much dedicated to getting people into cybersecurity and into pen testing that have no background whatsoever. So the short answer is, if you've got some background in anything technical, that will definitely make you go faster. But my whole movement is, look, it doesn't matter what your background is, what you do, what experience you have. Here's exactly how you get into it and do well in it. I always tell the story. My absolute best pen tester that I have on staff, she's a young lady that came in and interviewed. She was a liberal arts major, but she was just curious about how things worked under the hood. Killed the interview, like absolutely killed it in the interview. She didn't know how to answer a lot of the questions. She didn't know how to do a lot of the things because I do technical interviews too. She couldn't solve any of the issues, but her approach to problem solving was off the charts. And I knew if I just gave her a little bit of guidance and training, she would, run circles around all the other people that I had. And within a year, she was definitely running circles around everybody else. So I don't want anybody to think you need to have a specific background. Just, you need to be curious. If you have a technical, definitely having a coding background helps, or network engineering or something like that. It makes for an easier transition, but you don't need to have that to get into cybersecurity. And that's one of the things I talk about in my YouTube series is there's so many different cybersecurity roles that you can ease into without any technical background, and then slowly build your technical chops up and move into whatever it is you want to do.
Right. Okay, cool.
I mean, one of the things I say in there is, if you go look at the ledger of most big companies like Cisco, FireEye, some of the guys that make the absolute most money are the sales engineers.
Yeah.
Because they're getting these huge commissions. They're not that technical necessarily. They don't have to be. But they're getting these huge commissions off these big sales, and they're just the technical expertise behind the sales team, right? So if you have a sales background or you just naturally good at talking to people, that might be a way for you to get in, and then you can move into something you want. But everybody that I've mentored into doing that, they've decided to just stay in sales engineering. They
Right,
start
exactly.
I want to do pen testing, but then they get in there and see those $100,000 commission checks. They're like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna stick with sales engineer because this is a lot easier and I'm making a ton of money.
Yeah,
so there's just so many different aspects to it.
Yeah, I can see that because you don't have to do the work; you just sell it, and and you go to lunch.
Absolutely.
Sell it and go to lunch.
All right, so we got some videos here. We want to know if they're kind of like bad or indifferent or like so like we just want to see what you think about these hacks that we found in movies. So we think it was kind of
cool. So we're doing movies and TV. So I created a little like bumper bit for it too, and we're gonna do a few more of these. So I'm gonna play my little bumper bit before we do this.
All right.
Okay.
Okay,
so there you go. That's your little bumper. Unrealistic hack.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share these. We're playing these on YouTube for the most part. So we're going to start out. The first one we're going to look at is, where are we here? I think we're going to do this one first. So this is from a TV show called Castle. And let me just go ahead and play this.
All right, let's see.
You need to get your sound going there.
Oh, we can't hear it, can we? Hold on, sorry.
That's all right.
And as soon as I played that, you won't be able to hear it. Hold on.
It would have been fun for me to try to figure out what's going on without the sound.
The black
my guess is you couldn't.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna have a hard time even with the sound on.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let me pull this back up again here. This one. Yeah, this sound doesn't share by default for some strange reason. Here we go. Let me replay this back. Here we go.
System breach. Firewall 1.
We got a problem.
What?
Someone synced a rat to one of my servers. A remote access tool.
By Locksat?
I don't know.
But we've been so careful. How could they find us?
They haven't found us yet. Just cracked the outer layer of our system. I'll start an intrusion inspection and find out who our rat is.
So I'm going to pause it there to start off with.
So Keatron, my first question is, do you need 12 firewalls? Like, how does that really work? And then where does that UI come from where they're like, they can see the percentage of the hack going on?
Yeah, so first of all, you probably don't need 12 firewalls. It probably hurts you more than it helps you.
Right.
The UI that they're looking at, it looks a little bit like what you might see with a customized UI that's basically pulling information from all your firewalls, all your IDS, and your SIEM products, right? So you need a combination of things feeding it data, and then you'd have to create rules to say, well, when you see these 20 things happening, then that firewall is breached. So notify me that it's breached. So that it's possible to have that, but it definitely wouldn't be operational the way that they're illustrating it there.
Right.
That would require quite a bit of stuff that we just don't have the technology for yet.
So you used a keyword there called his remote access tool, the rat. I mean, I thought that was kind of creative. Like, what is he talking about there?
So there is a such thing as a rat, capital RAT in cybersecurity, and it stands for remote access tool or remote administration tool. Some popular ones, some really famous ones was like a Trojan called Beast, NetBust, Back Orifice was one of them from back in the day. So they're real.
I remember that one.
Yeah, they're actually real things. So that terminology they kind of got right. But I've never heard like saying I'm going to start an intrusion. What did he say? Intrusion inspection.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't even know what that is. I mean, maybe you need to say intrusion prevention or intrusion detection, or because things should be being inspected all the time, anyways. So if you don't start looking for stuff until you get hit, that's a problem.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. All right. We'll watch the rest of this, Kevin, because it gets funnier.
Yep.
I like the cubes here. That's cool.
Yeah.
They're on to us. Victim's trying to track our IP address.
Oh, can you stop it?
No. But I can slow him down.
It's coming from inside the city, trying to narrow it down.
Okay.
Stop it there, Kevin.
I'm just going to stop it right there.
So start Counter-Strike. I didn't know like first person shooters was a hacking tool. Is that like something that's common or?
Yeah, I think that's something Haley just made up there.
Okay.
I also love that it's in her just like C uses Haley
right,
yeah.
like folder.
yeah. That's the IP address being tracked like that, it's if I were breaking into Bobby's network, right? You would not be able to track and see, that I'm trying to break in, like from a standpoint of, because she says, oh, my IP address is being tracked. Well, if I'm using Google or Whois or, DNS Recon or something like that to track your IP, for you to know that means one or two things have happened. One, you're already in my machine and you're seeing everything that I do. Or two, you've compromised Google, you've compromised Whois, you own all of that and you're watching me through it.
Right, exactly.
And clearly neither of those things have happened, because if they've already gotten onto the box, why are they still trying to break past firewalls?
Right.
So it's just, I guess you could track that if you were already on the box, but they clearly make it insinuate that she's not in yet, right? She's trying to get in.
Yeah.
Right.
So just some bad terminology usage and stuff like that there.
So, but if you do hack me, I am likely to be playing Counter-Strike.
We got to upgrade your games, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay, so, let me play this a little bit more.
Okay.
What the hell?
Oh, you are good, but I am better.
Cat videos? That doesn't seem like Locksat.
So, why?
Yeah, I got nothing for that.
I guess they could install a virus that did a bunch of pop-ups that had cat videos in them, maybe. I mean, but it seems like they'd already be in if they're doing that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the thing is like I've never, I do a lot of threat hunting to where we're literally in the trenches going toe to toe with these threat actors that are doing this stuff. Yeah. And not once have I been sitting there thinking like, you are good, but I am better. Like usually, usually you're thinking like, oh, well, how can I get around this? Or how can I stop that? And sometimes, to be honest, it's just kind of dirty little secret. Most of the time, just sitting going, oh man, this is really cool. How do they do that? You're wishing you could talk to the guy and say, hey, let's stop fighting for just a second. Can you show me that?
Exactly.
And sometimes they actually do. Like sometimes they actually do. I've actually gotten messages and documents and stuff left behind saying, hey, look, idiot, like this is how I got in. You need to fix this.
Right.
Like so they do that sometimes.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Okay, I'm going to cut to the end part here. There's a middle part here that's boring, but this end part's kind of interesting too.
She's almost in. I could launch a cyber nuke, but it'll completely fry his system.
He's got a backup system at home.
Is that a go for launch?
Yes.
So he launched a cyber nuke.
So did he send a real missile that's got like cyber warhead on it? Like what happened?
He fries the computer on the other end. He fries their whole system. It like has sparks and everything and blows up.
Yeah. So so the problem with that is the firewalls that they were trying to get past, they would stop that little missile as it tried to
right, yeah.
Probably backfire and nuke them.
Right. Okay. Cool. Well, let's do another one, Kevin. I think we got several here. I think that was.
Oh yeah, we do. And people have already called out like one of these that we're going to come up in the future. So you guys have already talked about this in chat, but we'll come to that one later. This is your favorite one. Bobby.
This is my favorite.
This was your pick for this one. So
this is this Sean.
This is gonna be Hobbs and Shaw.
All right, let me set this up. So like Keatron, we both talked about the Hobbs and Shaw. And so in Hobbs and Shaw, the movie, there was these gloves that they would use to make sure that no one could use their bad guy's gun. So if they dropped their gun, Hobbs couldn't pick it up and shoot somebody with it because he had to have these special gloves. So the girl here is hacking the gloves to turn them off. And so that's kind of the setup here. We'll watch what she does here.
Very good news, Ed.
I'm in. The only thing is, I can only block the signal repeaters on the satellite for 6 minutes.
6 minutes might be all the time we need. Better than sharp stick in the eye.
Which is basically all we've got to fight them with anyway.
Done more with less, haven't we?
So like she could turn the satellite off for only 6 minutes, but like if you back it up, I was wondering like if you had a glove that had biometrics built into it, where does that UI come from? Like how does that work? Like,
so I can kind of see how that would work. So the organization they're fighting there is called Etion. Yeah, and I'm a Hobbs and Shaw Fast and Furious fan. I did a lot of research on what they were trying to insinuate here. So if you look at an organization like that, they would definitely be utilizing cloud services and taking advantage of that, and probably have their own private cloud that's bigger than, all the public clouds that we have.
Right.
So most likely what's happening is because of how controlling that organization is, all those weapons, those bio weapons that are controlled by biometrics and stuff like that, they probably got it set up to where there's a central controller that's in a cloud interface or something like that. Excuse me, that they can access and turn that stuff on and off. Like if they wanted to say, you know what, let's shut Bobby's access down because he's not obeying right now, which is basically what they did to Idris Elba in the end.
Yeah,
right?
they shut him down. Yeah.
So I think what they're trying to insinuate is that she hacked the back end and got to that interface that they would be using to control it. Oh. And then now she's got her backdoor planted there, which makes sense. And she's waiting until, whatever the British guy's name is there.
Jason Statham.
Yeah, waiting for Jason Statham to say, all right, you tell me when, and I'm going to hit it. It's going to disable everything for it'll take them about 6 minutes to get back control. But I'm in the back end. I've got my backdoor there. I'm just not going to trigger it yet. Okay. So that is actually not that far-fetched if you buy into the fact that Etion is who they are supposed to be in that movie.
Okay. All right.
That's cool.
That's kind of scary. Okay. That's kind of cool. So if my brother's watching, we had an argument about this. And so like now I'm wrong. So like,
Oh, I like that. Let's hope he's not watching, and let's never talk about this again.
Let's never talk about it again. So that's kind of cool.
If you think about it, think about how we use like the Echoes and the iHomes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All of that stuff, there's a back end for all that stuff, right. And I've written quite a few Lambda. Now, I don't want you guys to think I'm a developer or anything like that, but I've written quite a few Lambda skills and things like that to utilize my Echoes and stuff like that to do some pretty slick things. And I'm not a good coder by any measure. So if it's Etion, they probably got some coders.
They got some stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. What else you got, Kevin? You can show another one.
This next clip, and we realize there's millions of these clips too, by the way. We're going to have you come back to do more of these, because even in chat, people are like, let's talk about Mr. Robot. Let's talk about Swordfish. Yeah, we've talked all about these. Like, we had to pick some. So those didn't make the cut, but this one did, and somebody else suggested this too. This is a clip which is appropriately titled NCIS 2 Idiots 1 Keyboard. I love the name of the video. So here we go.
That is a great name.
Let me turn this up.
No, this is major.
Oh, sorry.
They've already burned through the NCIS public firewall.
We'll isolate the node and dump them on the other side of the router.
I'm trying. It's moving too fast.
Not good.
All right. Jeez.
So you pretty much get the idea there. There's a lot of pop-ups and two people typing on a keyboard to make it, I don't know, better?
Better? Have you ever typed on the same keyboard with two people, Keatron? Do you guys do that normally, or?
My 7-year-old son, when he was like 3, he would try to do that with me sometimes. And let me tell you, I think it was about as successful as they would be doing that.
Right. I thought it was funny. There's actually 4 hands on that keyboard, which is hilarious.
Yeah, it's not like they're Jaegers from Pacific Rim where they're sinking their brains or
right.
So yeah, I think definitely that one's.
What about all the pop-ups too? What was the idea behind that? Is that like a thing?
So one thing about that, when you see a lot of pop-ups like that in the hacker community, we generally have like a few of those going, and we have them kind of side by side as we're doing different things. But generally, when you see someone doing that with all these pop-ups coming up, we're really just doing that to A, confuse everybody that's looking over our shoulders, or B, to just make ourselves look cool.
Right.
Like, there's hardly any efficiency behind that or any reason to have those things coming like that, because you're not reading them that fast.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine if you got the dual guys on the keyboard, you're fighting over that backslash button a lot. So I'm just wondering.
That's if you got me.
What if you need to type a word that's on both sides of the keyboard?
Yeah,
I mean, you're in real trouble. Like, you're in real trouble. Here you go. Here's a question / point. I don't know if you watched Mr. Robot. You familiar with that show?
I am.
Okay, so Sophiso saying Mr. Robot's the most accurate depiction of hacking than any film. Is that true? Would you say is it true? Is what they're doing?
I would say that I've watched that whole series, and yes, they to the credit of the production team there, they clearly did a lot of research on how it would be done. Yeah. And what made me think that is on the very first hack I saw was they planted a backdoor on a CD, like a music CD, and the guy went out and was hanging out. I was like, okay, that's exactly how that would go. Right. Kind of follow along the line the thumb drive thing you were talking about.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I was in New York, and there's some guys out there handing out CDs, and they want you to buy their music CDs or whatever. And I'm still remembering that. Like, there is no way you can be Justin Bieber yourself, and I'm not taking a CD from you right now, man. Like, that's like, I mean, like, it could just be anybody, like.
That's because you took my class, Bobby.
That's right. That's like, I'm not taking your random CD off the street, even if you give it to me, I'm not taking it. So, like, But yeah, the one I saw on Mr. Robot was she was just spreading out USB drives, and someone picked it up in the parking lot and plugged it in. And oddly enough, as I understood it, that's how the Iranians' nuclear reactor got hacked. Someone found a USB drive and plugged it in, and the U.S. government was in. I mean,
that's exactly how Stuxnet got.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say conclusively.
Yeah, exactly.
I could say rumors are.
Yeah, Obama said it happened. So, so it must have happened.
There was a good book about that I read. I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was super interesting about Stuxnet. It was a couple years back. It was a good book.
Yeah.
So, but that's how they did it supposedly. Like some dude just picked up a USB drive.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Okay,
we got one more, right?
Last one. And actually, this is slightly related to something that happened in Mr. Robot too, and we'll talk about that one afterwards. But this one is a Fast and Furious clip too. This one is from Fate of the Furious.
Fate of the Furious.
Oh,
Here we go.
Crack 'em off. It's zombie time. I'd buckle up if I were you.
I love this right there.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I like this one next a little bit right here.
Oh, okay. She's a bunch of cars.
Now you have mass control over all of these cars. There's one last little scene right here.
Safety sensors overridden.
So there we go. So remote hacking cars to be self-driving, I guess.
Yeah. So if you look at the amount of resources and money and development work that Google had to put into the self-driving cars that they had, and what Tesla, what Elon Musk has put into to that, there's a lot of research and a lot of effort that had to go into making those specific cars do that. So, I mean, sure, if everybody's driving a Prius and a Tesla, or a Google self-driving car, I guess you could kind of do something like that. But that 1998 Crown Vic that cab driver was driving, that thing does not have the tech.
You're telling me that's not on the internet?
Right. I mean, it would require a lot of either everybody having smart tech cars, or B, they would have had to ahead of time gotten into all those cars and upgraded the tech in there and put modules or something in there to control it. So I don't think the technology is to the point that we can do that yet.
Yeah. But I would say that as I've read a lot about driverless cars. I think it's one of the biggest inventions that will come out in the next 10 years. and as 5G comes out, I do think that these cars eventually will be connected.
Yeah, well, I spoke at a conference in Vegas for ISACA in last October, and I was at Caesar's Palace, and I called a Lyft to go to a mall or something like that. And when I did that, it popped up and said, "You're eligible for our pilot of, where we have the self-driving cars. Do you want to do it?" And I was like, heck, of course, yeah. So in comes like this BMW 9 Series, and I get in, and they've got like this big screen that's like bigger than the Tesla screens.
Wow.
In the middle of the console. And the Lyft driver was like, yeah, it's self-driving. And of course I'm, a geek. So I had all kinds of questions. So apparently they were telling me this, and you could see on the screen, I could see like all the sensors as it was detecting cars and people and stuff like that. And the guy literally was letting it drive. Like he didn't have his hands on the steering wheel. It was accelerating and decelerating on its own. It was, if people would come and kind of like inch over a little bit, it would stop almost to let them get over. So it's extremely nice, the tech in there. And of course, after about 5 minutes, I just started going, I was like, because there was a driver and then there was a tech guy sitting in the passenger seat, right? So I just started drilling that technical guy like, okay, so let me ask you this. What if I were to find this? And I tried to do this, and could I break in this way and could I break in that way? And after a while, dude's like, wait a minute, what do you do? Because how do you know all this stuff?
Exactly.
He was like, these are some questions we have not really thought that much about yet.
Right.
Long story short is he gave me his card, and I ended up doing some consulting work for
okay, that's kind of cool. Awesome. Yeah.
Because I had a lot of questions about, okay, but the problem is, what if you're in the middle of driving and someone did like a EMF burst or something to shut down the tech? Like, is the car just going to slam on brakes suddenly? Is it going to pull over to the side of the road? What's going to happen if the system gets shut down like instantly? So I just had a whole bunch of questions like that, and they had no answers.
Right.
And that was in October. So hopefully they've got some. They've definitely figured out some things now.
Well, I think right now, like any good like technology firm, they're just trying to make it work, and then we'll figure out security in phase 2.
That is the state of it that everybody does. Absolutely. You coders are like the main ones that do that.
Right. Yeah. We're just trying to get to work, man.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's cool. Let's do some questions too, because we have some questions.
Got some questions. Yeah.
Freddie wants to know, what do you think about the Pen Test Plus exam? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I do. So I did the beta of that exam, and I've taken the real exam because I teach courses that prepare you for that exam. There's a ethical hacking course. It's really popular that I teach that prepares you for CEH and Pen Test Plus. And the Pen Test Plus exam is, in some ways, it's similar to CEH. Like if you look at if we talk about the technical aspect of it, as far as using Nmap, using Metasploit, all of that stuff is relatively the same. Some areas where Pen Test Plus is different. There's quite a bit more knowledge of scripting required. They expect you to understand how to write basic scripts. They expect you to understand some fundamental coding concepts, like what a for loop is and that type of thing, which is not something that you see so much on CEH. And then the other thing that Pen Test Plus is very different in is they focus a lot of the exam on pre and post engagement stuff, like how should the contract look? What should your rules of engagement look like? What should your NDA look like? And then on the back end of that, how should you format your pen test report? What things should you include in there and that stuff? So Pen Test Plus is a little heavier on those sides, whereas CEH is not so much. So that's what I think of it and what the difference is.
Okay, cool.
Okay, awesome. Luke Slytalker, my favorite name that's always here. He plays with is it Burp or BURP? Burp. And some other tools for pen testing, my web apps, but I'm always interested in other people's tool chains. What do you guys use for web apps?
Yeah, so Burp Suite is kind of like the standard. I use Burp Suite almost daily. I mean, I even use it when I'm just browsing certain people's websites, especially if I don't trust them. Like if they got any security issues at all, I'm going to proxy that thing through Burp and look at stuff as I'm kind of going through it there. But Burp Suite is like the main one that I use for web apps. I also use Beef. I use Set and some other tools. There's a tool that I used to use, called Paros. And Paros was the proxy that I used before Burp became popular, but I've kind of abandoned that now, and I primarily use Burp for that. But as far as automating the process of scanning and looking for vulnerabilities in your site and that type of thing, that, Burp is kind of the go-to for that. You can't really do it without Burp or something like that.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. I got a question from Reza. I don't know if someone asked this question already. They didn't. That's why I'm putting it up. Is programming a must-have skill in hacking? So I'm guessing do you have to be a developer to be
yes. I don't, that's one of the things I address in the part that in the series that I go through on how to get into cybersecurity. Programming is something that if you have that skill or if you eventually develop that skill, it's going to open you up to some things that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do if you didn't have it. But you can come into cybersecurity, master certain skill sets, become an excellent pen tester, have a very successful career in cybersecurity without ever writing a single line of code. So I don't think you have to have that skill, but if you have it, it definitely increases your ability, increases the capabilities of things you can do. For example, one of the things that I showed Bobby in the class that I taught him 6 years ago?
Yeah, 6 years ago, yeah.
Was we in the class, in that level class CH, you have to learn how to find vulnerabilities and exploit them. And some of the more advanced stuff that I went over is look, let me show you how to create these exploits. I'm going to show you how to write this exploit from scratch. Now, even though I will clearly say I'm not a developer, as Bobby saw, I actually wrote the code for that exploit. I wrote a basic buffer overflow exploit to where we could dump into memory on that machine shell code, and shell code is significant in that with most languages, it's either compiled or, interpreted, right? So you have to have an interpreter or you have to compile it in a way that the OS can understand that binary. Well, shell code is unique in that you don't have to compile it, nor do you need an interpreter. You can drop it right into memory and the operating system can execute it, right? So I showed him how to write basic shell code, get that into memory to where, it would execute. And we used a Python script to do that, to be our delivery mechanism. But we also had to have some basic knowledge of assembly and some basic knowledge of how memory works, right? So if you don't have those skills, you won't be writing exploits. But you don't have to write exploits to be successful at pen testing, right? It's just that if you want to go to that next level, you're going to have to learn some coding concepts. And, if you want to really write exploits to get around common defense mechanisms, then you have to be a pretty decent coder on top of that. Right. So I think that's kind of my best answer for that question. You don't have to have it. It helps. It's going to take you places you couldn't go otherwise, but you can be happy and successful in cybersecurity and pen testing without it.
Right. And I think that's important to know that you can break in and then improve your game as you go.
Yep, absolutely.
So I think that's important for people to understand is a lot of people won't start a journey because they'll look at Keatron and it's well, I can't do that. I can't get there. And what we're saying is just kind of break in with pen testing and then build your skills and, go from there.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Yep. Here's a question about a tool. What do you think about Kali Linux?
Like the Tesla logo there, by the way. Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
So Kali Linux, I use it pretty frequently. It's, even back when it was Backtrack. And essentially what happened is Kali is really just Debian. It's like Debian that's customized. Before Kali, it was Backtrack, and that was Ubuntu, right? So I use it on a daily basis when I'm doing little demonstrations and things like that. And even now, if you go to AWS or Google Cloud or Azure, you can go out and they've actually got Kali versions out there for that cloud service. So if you want to build a Kali instance in AWS, you just go out there and search in the AWS marketplace for Kali. And then suddenly, you got a Kali VM in AWS that you can use to do your practicing or pen testing or whatever. Okay. And I go over all that stuff in my series as well, like how to build a practice environment type of thing.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Luke has a longer question here. Do you think OSINT, open source intelligence, will become more important in security? Is coding OSINT tools worth doing? Follows a guy called Michael Bazell.
Yeah. So I definitely think that open source intelligence is going to continue to grow as an important area, because what's happening is one of the drivers of the machine learning and AI, why that's becoming such a big thing, is because we're accumulating and creating so much data out there that we can't manage it or do anything with it. That's a gold mine for AI and for machine learning, but it's also a gold mine for open source intelligence too, because all of this stuff is out there now. And as open source intelligence tools mature and become better at siphoning that information off, I think you're gonna see a huge uptick in the usage of those in our industry. I use them every day. I use Maltego and some other things all the time for helping me go out and pull that information in and making it into something that I can use.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. Super interesting.
Yeah.
We're coming up to the top of the hour too.
I know. Yeah, it's going.
We should definitely have you come back and give us a demo of something.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to do that next time. We'll do a pen test on something next time.
That's like my favorite thing to do. Bobby knows I like demoing and showing stuff. Half my class is me showing you how to do stuff and then letting you do it. So
right,
I like to do demonstrations.
I can remember making rootkits and calendar or calculator.
Calculator, yep.
And then making them like a 0-day exploit, so that it's you change it so that it doesn't
get detected,
Norton or whatever, and then so you run it against your own machine to see if it'll get passed. And once it gets passed, you email it to somebody or somehow you drop it on their machine. So anyway,
I love it. Super interesting. Yeah,
absolutely. Looks like we had a break cut out there for a second.
Yeah, okay. You did. Yeah. You went. You froze for a second.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, let's find out. Let's get the links to his YouTube site, Kevin.
I'll actually put them down in the description of the video. There's a link down there already to your site, I believe, but I'll go ahead and add the YouTube link down there too.
Yeah.
In the description on YouTube. I'll do that right after this, so you guys will be able to find it right down there. You can go check out Keatron's awesome YouTube channel.
Yeah, just check out his channel, sub him up, and then hopefully we can get you back in. And I think we had a ton of questions. We got anything for the road here? Or?
there's always questions. Here you go. Here you go. Just do this one. Wilfredo's asking, how do you take a class that you teach? Do you still teach?
Yeah, I do teach. And I'm teaching a little more now as everybody's quarantined. So the demand for me to do live online hands-on classes has never been greater than it is now. Because a lot of companies are telling people like, look, you can't work, so just go take some classes.
Right.
So I'm getting a lot of that. So the way that you do that, if you want to take a class from me, is follow the path that he's putting in a link there to the InfoSec Skills or my YouTube channel. And there's all kinds of stuff in there that tells you where to go to get training from me. And I'll and if you have questions, like all of you that have questions in here, pass those questions on to my YouTube and I'll answer them. Like I'll go through and answer every single one of them.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
that's awesome. We also have a. Did you join Discord?
I did.
Okay, so we have Discord too. So if you ever feel like jumping on there, jump on there. People can.
I can jump on. I'll jump on there and answer too. I joined it and I definitely followed your channel.
Okay,
like I
awesome.
Connected to your channel. Yeah,
awesome. So yeah, if you want to join our Discord, links down in the description too. If you haven't already joined, if you have, awesome.
And I can promise you this: you take a class from Keatron, you're going to learn a ton. It's a ton. And
full disclosure here, I had no clue what Discord was until I saw it on your YouTube page. I was like, oh, let me go get on it.
Yeah,
cool. I love it.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool. All right. Well, Keatron, thanks for coming in, man. And we'll bring you back on here in a little bit, and maybe you can demo some stuff for us in the future. And so,
absolutely, looking forward to it.
And we'll review some more movie clips. So.
Yes,
there's so much more.
Yeah, exactly. So,
awesome.
That's awesome. Thanks, Keatron.
All right, thanks, man. See you later.
Thanks, guys.
See you later. That's super cool.
Super awesome. So, like, we didn't have enough time. We needed a couple more hours. So,
yeah, we could do this for like 2 hours next time.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So, do we have anybody else upcoming? Do we have some other people scheduled out for next week? Or
we do.
Okay.
Who do we have? We do. We have some other guests coming up. Let me see here. We don't have any more this week. Obviously we'll be back tomorrow. We have a couple guys next week. We have a guest on Tuesday and a guest on Wednesday.
Okay.
So what are we talking about on Wednesday? I don't know if that's what we're talking about .NET on Wednesday, maybe.
Yeah.
But we do have guests for next week. So that'll be interesting. We have a guy from Leon.
Oh yeah,
joining us from Balsamic, so that'll be super good.
So if you're into wireframing and UX, Balsamic is a company that makes wireframing tools, and we've got the lead educator and UX for Balsamic coming on, Leon.
Yeah, he's going to talk about UI and UX and that kind of interesting stuff. Yeah,
if you're into that, man, and this will be. He trains all over the world. Very excited to have him on here on next Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then who's the guy on Wednesday? Is that
Sean Mortimer?
Sean, yeah. So Sean is just like what I called him is he's a man's man coder. Like he is straight up coding guy, and like there's a lot of a lot of stuff. Very active on Twitter and YouTube, and we met him, and he's going to bring some interesting stuff that we can talk about. Especially
teach us some stuff.
Yeah, in the .NET arena, things like that. He's got a film coming out, like it's kind of interesting. He's an interesting dude, so I can't wait to talk to him on Wednesday.
Yep. It's going to be super good.
Yeah.
Yep. What else do we have? Yeah, so for the Discord too, actually, while we're talking about Discord, or we were talking about it before, for everybody that's there already, I think what I'm going to do is the end of today, we've been up for a couple of weeks now, I think.
Yeah.
So at the end or later today, some point today, everybody that's already in there, I'm gonna change you guys and give you a little like a little founders thing. So I'll make you guys like the first couple hundred people will basically, if you're in there by the end of today, I'll change you into a group so you can be part of the founders group. So anybody joining after this, you'll have a different like name tag in there. So it just differentiates you guys that have been there for a while from anybody that jumps in that's new. So if you haven't already joined, go join. You'll get the little tag. And I see a lot of people over there too, so it's cool. I see you guys chatting over there, so it's super.
I try to get in there as much as I can, and to answer some questions. So, if you don't know, yeah, my tag on there is Cowboys or Cowboy. So, like, that's me if you ever see it. So, so I'm in there if I can, and then we also have a big announcement for next Thursday that we can't talk about yet, but we have a huge news next Thursday.
We do. Next Thursday is a big day.
Yeah. So
definitely come next Thursday
for a huge announcement here.
We're going to give you guys an exclusive next Thursday is what we're going to do. We have something big as a company and a brand happening, but we're going to tell you guys first.
Right.
So
that would be kind of cool. So hopefully you think it is big as we do. And then we do have a lot of things that are coming down the pipe for later on in the summer as well that we're going to do. Specifically because you guys have asked us to do it, so we're going to try to get there and do it.
Yep.
So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll be back tomorrow, and look, tech, like our little hype worked here. Look at this.
What's that? Oh yeah, yeah. That's it. Get pumped.
Yeah, the hype train has started. Tech with that.
John's suggestion, half of admission.
No, that's not it. I'm sorry.
It's not going to be that. Oh, that is funny though.
Yeah.
But yeah, we will break news next Thursday.
We'll break news, and so maybe it's something you'll like. So anyway, good luck, guys. Keep coding, and we will see you tomorrow. All right. Thanks, guys.
See you tomorrow.